Good evening, everyone. How are we doing? What a great crowd. Love to see this. Beautiful June night, a million other things you could be doing, but you came down here to be informed and be engaged. We appreciate that very much. I'll be very brief because the people you want to hear from are not me. They're the people with the answers. But I did want to say at the beginning just a couple of brief words. What we're doing here in Woburn is something that the state legislature years ago allowed cities and towns to do. And then it was up to each city and town to decide if they wanted to do it. So here in Woburn, we actually looked at this 2 times. The city council voted 2 times to partake of this. And it was the second time that we actually took the necessary steps forward to actually advance to doing it. The best part about this program really is that it's voluntary. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. If you do it and you don't like it, you can stop and go back to what you were doing. That's the best part. No one is being forced to do anything, and we think it's a great program. We think it locks in stability, and right out of the gate, it locks in some savings. But if you don't like it and you don't want to do it, you don't have to. So I think that's probably the best piece of this. The second piece, of course, is what I just said, that out of the gate, when we're looking at our numbers versus Eversource's numbers at the beginning of August, ours are better. So there's a savings. And then there's other factors that may or may not appeal to you in terms of where you actually get your energy from, whether it's more renewable than not. That's something you can look at and make a decision for yourself what matters most to you. But between the voluntariness, the stability, and the actual cost savings, I think it's a pretty good program. And I appreciate that people are looking into it and doing their homework to make sure that they make the right decision for them. That's what we want. We want everyone to understand what they're doing and then decide what's best for them. So the folks who are here tonight are here to help you. They'll answer your questions, and they'll try to get to a point where you can make the best decision for you. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it over to the experts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Hi, everyone. My name is Allison McNeil. I am a... Okay, thanks. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Allison McNeil. I'm a client manager on the Good Energy team. We are the consultant to the city. We were hired to develop this program, and we've been working very hard and very closely with them. So we're so excited to bring this to you tonight. We've been in here a few times along the way. So tonight we're excited to announce an August launch for this program. I'm going to take about 10 to 15 minutes to run through the structure of the program, the pricing, and your options to participate. And then we'll open it up to questions. Just for anyone who's watching online, we do not have online question capabilities today. So if you have any questions and you're watching online, I'll have my contact information at the end, and feel free to submit any questions that weren't answered. All right, so just a reminder of what Woburn Community Electricity is. This is a municipal aggregation program. Essentially, what that means is the city has decided to use its buying power, so pooling all the electricity customers in the city, to go out and select a supplier by itself to provide competitive, stable rates and more additional renewable energy to your electricity supply. So essentially, these programs are just to give you more electricity supply options. So in these programs, when the city selects a supplier, they also select a stable rate. For this program, we have 52 months of a stable rate. So these rates do not change for 52 months. And we'll go over prices in just a second, but when the program launches, we will be cheaper than Eversource basic service. We don't know what the utility does every 6 months, so we cannot guarantee savings throughout the program, but as the mayor said, out the gate, we are below Eversource basic service. All right, so Good Energy as the consultant helped the city complete a competitive bidding process for all qualified suppliers in the state that could handle a load of an entire city, and they chose Dynegy. You'll see the word Dynegy on lots of our materials, maybe a letter that you received. This is the program supplier for the program. In this program, we'll offer 3 electricity supply options, and the program starts on your August 2025 meter read. So these prices will remain intact until December of 2029. That's 52 months. So in these municipal aggregation programs, if you participate, the only thing that changes is your supply. So there's 2 parts to your electricity bill. Your Eversource bill has a delivery and a supply section. So that delivery section will remain completely the same. The only thing that will change is that supply side. That supply side is just how much electricity you use and where you get it from. So this is a slide of all the things that stay the same. Everything else stays the same. So Eversource will continue to provide all the delivery services. That's things like your bill, that's maintaining your wires and poles. It's the physical delivery of electricity to your home. It's also storm outage response. And you'll still get just 1 bill every month from Eversource. So nothing changes in terms of your service from Eversource. If you have questions about billing, you'll still call Eversource. A few other things that don't change. If you participate in budget billing, if you have a low-income discount, those remain calculated the exact same. And if you participate in net metering benefits with your home solar, those remain exactly the same. So just before we move on, the only thing that changes here is the actual supply of electricity. All right, so we've got 3 program options that we're offering through Woburn Community Electricity. We've got the Woburn Basic, the Standard, and the Plus. So these 3 are really designed to fit all the needs or interests of anyone in Woburn. So we have the Basic. This is our most economic option. It's the same type of electricity offered by Eversource. Then we have on the other end, Woburn Plus. This is for folks who are really interested in their environmental impact, and they want to make, they want as much renewable energy as possible in their electricity supply. That's the Woburn Plus. Then we have the Woburn Standard, which is our win-win product. It includes some additional renewables while also maintaining that savings. So that's the default product. We'll talk about participation in just a minute, but essentially if you are eligible to be automatically enrolled in this program, you'll end up in the Woburn Standard. You can take action to get involved in either of those optional products, the Basic or the Plus, but that Woburn Standard is the community default. So this provides some economic savings, but also a little bit of extra renewable energy. So that's kind of the in-between of the 3 products. So you'll see all the rates are listed here. That Woburn Standard rate is 13.891. This screen might be a little small, but on the back of the FAQ, we have that same rate table. And you'll notice that all of the Woburn community electricity products have a term length of 52 months. So if you participate in this program, this is what the rates will be. If you decide to leave and come back, this is what the rates will be. So you aren't locked into participating if you join. This is just the term length of these rates. So you're not locked into 52 months. You can come and go as you please in the program, but these rates will remain for 52 months. On the other hand, Eversource rates, which are on the other side of the screen, these change every 6 months. So we know what the rates will be starting in August, and that August marks their first of a 6-month cycle. So Eversource rates change every August and February. So every 6 months, we don't know what the future Eversource rates will be, but for August, we've got a 14.884 cents per kilowatt hour rate. So all of our products at launch are cheaper than Eversource Basic Service. So just want to take a moment to talk about some of the renewable energy that we add to these products. I'll just go back to the product slide. So the Woburn Standard adds 10% additional renewables. What that means in short is that every electricity generator in the state has to follow a standard of how much renewable electricity is in their generation each year. And for the state's mandates to reach its energy goals, they increase that each year. So whether it's Eversource or National Grid or Woburn Community Electricity, we all have the same rules of how much renewable energy has to go into these products. The Woburn standard adds 10% on top of that. So you'll see in the bottom it says 73% in 2025. So right now the standard is 63% of all electricity generation in the state has to come from these renewable sources that the state classifies. So the Woburn standard adds 10%, and the Woburn Plus fills that gap to 100% renewable energy. So you can see there's a couple of different options here for you to choose from, but just wanted to talk about the renewables for a second. All of our renewables come from Green Energy Consumers Alliance. They're a nonprofit that we partner with. You can see a map here on the screen. This is all the projects that they source from. So they're all in New England. And so, our hope here by adding these Class 1 new RECs in Massachusetts is to create demand for green renewable energy here in the state. Okay, let's talk about participating. So this is a voluntary program. You do not have to participate. If you choose not to participate, there is never any fee or penalty to leave the program, and you can leave at any time. If you do want to participate, take action to opt out or change your product, we're going to talk about the different ways you can do that. That is all based off of who your current electricity supplier is. So we're going to walk through for a moment how you find out who your current electricity supplier is. All right, so on your Eversource bill, typically on page 2, there is the supply section. And right at the top of the supply section, you'll see the word supplier, and then your supplier will be listed. If it says Eversource, you are on Eversource Basic Service. If you see anything else listed here, this means you've already chosen a third-party supplier. If you have Eversource Basic Service as your supply, you are eligible to be automatically enrolled in the program. Again, you always have a choice and you can opt out, but this is the group who's eligible for automatic enrollment. This is the group who we mailed letters to, so you might have gotten a letter in the mail with an opt-out card, but everyone has a choice to participate. If you have anyone else listed there other than Eversource, you've already made a selection of who you want as your supplier, and a lot of times these contracts have introductory fees or cancellation fees, penalties to leave that contract. So this group is not eligible for automatic enrollment, but we can talk about how they participate in just a moment. So the next couple of slides, the next 3 slides are about those who are on Eversource Basic Service. So this group is eligible for automatic enrollment in that Woburn standard product. So you might have a couple weeks ago received a letter from us. It explains the program, explains the pricing, and it also included a little opt-out card. Anyone in this group on Eversource Basic Service would begin that Woburn standard rate on your August meter read. And just a note, the meter reads happen once a month, and typically the way these bills work is, if something takes effect on your August meter read, you'll actually see it on the bill you receive in September. So it's retroactive like that. So if anyone is on Eversource Basic Service and you do not take action, you'll end up in that Woburn standard starting on your August meter read. So in order to opt out before the program begins, we need to take action before July 16th. So July 16th is our opt-out deadline to make a decision before the program begins so that your decision is locked in before the program starts. Anytime after July 16th, you can opt out, change your product, opt in. This is just the deadline for anyone who wants to take action before the program starts. This is to guarantee your selection before then. Anytime afterwards, you can opt out. Anytime afterwards, you can opt in. There's never any penalty or fee to leave this program. If you choose to opt out and you don't want to participate at first, but maybe a few months later you do, absolutely fine, you can opt back into the program. Okay, so there's a couple different actions you can take to choose one of the different optional products, so the basic or the plus, or to opt out. So I've got those kind of listed on the screen here. One is you can go to our program website. WoburncommunityElectricity.com has the enrollment form, a form to opt out of the program, and also our contact information if you have any other questions. So you can always go to our site to take any of those actions or call our supplier directly. That's Dynegy, and their number's up there as well as in the FAQ. If you'd like to opt out of the program, all of those same options are still available to you, but you can also return that slip that was mailed to you. If you were mailed a slip, that's your opt-out card. So you'll only sign and return that if you do not want to participate in the program. Okay, now if anyone has anything other than Eversource listed in their supply section, you have a third-party supplier. For anyone on a third-party supplier, like I said, you are not eligible to be automatically enrolled, but you're welcome to participate. So we would recommend if you do want to participate in this program and you have a third-party supplier that you double check with them on if they have a cancellation fee, what the contract penalty is if you leave before the end of it. We just recommend checking with them before taking any action to enroll in the program. But you can take all the same actions. Call our supplier, go to our program website, and fill out an enrollment form. I'll also list the Good Energy phone number at the end of these slides. You can also call us, and we can do that on your behalf. Okay, so besides being here tonight, and thank you all so much for coming, you might have seen some social media posts go out, a press release, or a news blast from the city. So we've been trying to get the word out about this and answer your questions. I'll also just note that we did send letters to anyone who was eligible for automatic enrollment. If you did not receive that letter, or if you want to take action but you aren't sure if you're eligible for automatic enrollment, we're happy to help you with that. We first need to identify who your current supplier is. So we are having a bill review night on July 10th. I believe there's flyers right around the corner for this, but we're happy to review and see who your current supplier is and help you take action. Okay, so I'll just leave this slide up before we open up to questions. So again, we have Dynegy's phone number. That's our program supplier. They can help you opt out. They can help you choose a different product, or they can help you enroll. And then we also have Good Energy's phone number here. And I'll maybe just get back up to this slide. I'll leave that here for questions. Okay, does anyone have any questions?
So I actually have two questions. Is there any penalty from Eversource for making a switch? You said that you could opt out at any point without a penalty, but does Eversource charge any sort of penalty? That's my first question.
Great, thanks. So the question was, will Eversource penalize you for opting out or opting into the program? Eversource will not penalize you. There's no fee or penalty to opt in or out of the program.
At any time?
At any time.
Okay, and my second question is regarding the rates that you have listed up there for the basic, standard, and Woburn Plus. Could you speculate how much a bill might change?
Sure.
Based on those numbers?
Sure. So you can see the rates here are, pretty similar. There's not a huge premium in between each rate. For almost all of them, it's looking about 5 to 10% on each bill that you'd save. And you have to remember this is just the supply section of your bill. So these rates are paying per kilowatt hour for how much electricity you use. That's just one half of the bill. But in general, we see that with all of these products, it's about 5 to 10% savings. Again, if anyone is on budget billing or low income rate, those still apply to the entire bill, including the supply section.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Take.
send out, we're gonna save about a penny a kilowatt hour. My main question is, a lot of the cities and towns now are coming out with, because of the smart meters, they're having different pricing at certain time of the nights, like from 4 at night to 8 o'clock at night, everybody using electricity. A lot of the cost to produce the electricity is double or triple in that time frame. Is we gonna stay flat the whole time, or will we have peaks in high peak area, because that's a major concern.
So for those on the broadcast, I'm just going to repeat the question so that you can hear that. The question is, do we have any peak hour pricing built into this program? Some communities charge you more at times when a lot of people are using electricity and slightly less at times that it's not being heavily used. Is our rate a flat rate, or is it have any peak things built into it?
Thank you. That's a great question. So this is a flat rate. At all times of day, it's the same exact per kilowatt hour price. The state is rolling out time of use meters and time of use rates, but not right now.
And ruling that out, you said?
Yep. So Eversource is installing smart meters. I think their installation, they're maybe the third or fourth phase. So I think by 2026, most everyone should have a smart meter, installed by their utility, but not yet.
So that may change, that high peak rates like this gentleman was talking about, that may come later.
Yeah, we're not totally sure how this will interact with aggregation programs. What we know for sure is that for 52 months until December 2029, these are flat rates.
So now it's a flat rate, that may change.
Right, yeah, we're not totally sure. Oh. Sorry, the question was, will this change for the future? And we're not totally sure how smart meters will impact how these time of use rates get used for aggregation programs. But for right now, this whole rate until December 2029 is flat and fixed.
How did Denergy come to these rates?
So the question was, how did Dynegy select these rates? Part of the competitive bidding process is we bring all the qualified suppliers together and ask them for their best rates and also their best terms. So it's kind of an equation of price for renewable energy, price for the base energy, and then the terms that they can provide. So out of all the qualified suppliers, the city selected Dynegy, but it all depends on when we go out to bid. That's a huge part of this process is as aggregations, we can go out to bid whenever we want, and Eversource and National Grid are fixed to when they can make those decisions. So, as the consultant, we monitor the market to decide when's the best time to go out. But the selection of Dynegy is just the process of the city deciding who they would like.
So can you go back to the map with regards to the renewable energy? I think you had in Massachusetts.
Sure. Yep.
So how does this, right, so a lot of, I guess, cities and towns, we heard from the mayor, are choosing to go over to these aggregate systems. Are these wind farms and solar farms, I'm assuming that's what these are here?
Yep, so the question was on the slide that's currently being presented, are these all wind or solar farms? And so this is our partner, Green Energy Consumers Alliance. They do not serve all aggregations, just Good Energy's green aggregations. So this is a nonprofit, and these are all of their projects. Some are wind, most are solar. They do have some low impact hydro and some anaerobic digestion products as well, but it's mostly Massachusetts, some in New Hampshire, and lots in Rhode Island.
And these projects are, what is there in effect now? Like, are there more projects? Are there more wind farms and solar farms that are going to be planned over the years in order to support the infrastructure of everything that's going on? Or I'm just curious as to how much land we're going to be bulldozing down to continue to support this renewable energy.
Sure. So the question was, will Green Energy Consumers Alliance be adding more projects, and how will this impact the program? So we buy RECs from them. So they produce these projects, and we buy the renewable energy credits from them for the program. So they have projects all over New England, and we kind of just buy from their New England market. I'm not totally sure how long these projects are built in and how long we'll be buying from each specific project, but in the contract that the city has with Green Energy Consumers Alliance, they're purchasing RECs from them until December of 2029. So they could be adding more projects. I'm not sure, but we can totally get back to you on that.
A couple of questions. You mentioned the renewable energy as low-impact hydro. Would the energy coming from the Canadian hydro be considered low-impact if it ever makes its way here?
Good question. So definitely not from Green Energy Consumers Alliance. Their projects are just locally based in these couple of states here. The ISO New England grid, so that's the greater grid that all of New England lives on, purchases electricity from. They sometimes get Eastern Canadian electricity.
Thank you.
They sometimes purchase from Eastern Canada. And part of the renewable energy standard each year does include low impact hydro. I'm not totally sure about this project, but not it wouldn't be our RECs, our additional RECs.
Okay. And then the second question, after the 52 months are up, will there be another 52-month option, or will we be back on some kind of a different structure?
Sure. So after these 52 months are up, the city will go back out to bid, and they can choose, they'll be offered all the same term lengths, anything from 12 to maybe up to 52 again. So we'll have to see where the market is at. But when we do renew after 52 months, we'll have a very similar process. Everyone will get a letter in the mail. They can make that decision again if they want to stay in the program with the new prices. But yes, so it's 52 months for now. We're not sure what the future will be, but we'll go back out and have a full bid just like we did for this one.
With the intention of also having a long-term commitment for the price.
Right, long-term stable rates.
Okay. Now, my calculations is the supply is about 42% of my bill. The delivery charge is a 50-some-odd%, and that varies. I might add, it's ironic that we're having this meeting tonight as we all left our air conditioners on before we left the house. So thank God there's no peak pricing. Is there any, this has no impact whatsoever on Eversource's delivery charges. Is there any way we can impact that?
Right. So no, this has no impact on delivery, and whether you're on the aggregation for supply or some other third-party supplier, that delivery, those are all per kilowatt hour charges. That's the same for everyone. So no, this program can't impact that.
So I'm assuming the Eversource, Nancy,
Add something to that? I'm sorry.
please.
I'm very short, so thank you. I appreciate that. There you go. I like that. I just want to add, while it is true that we have no effect on their delivery charge, we are hosting on July 8th a bill review with Eversource because they do have some assistance pricing and payment plans and things, and they have opened that up to the community here so that if you want to see if you qualify for any of those things according to their qualifications, because those are programs you have to ask for. They don't auto-enroll you in them. We do have that as something that's happening as well. Okay, it's not quite the same thing, but better than nothing.
Better than that. Yes, thank you. I have to go home and turn my air conditioner off. Thank you.
Thank you.
I missed the beginning of the meeting. Is the fee the same for all 52 months?
Yep.
Okay.
All the program prices here are the exact same for 52 months.
Okay, and if you opt out, if you want to go to Woburn Basic, you have to opt out.
So opt out is to be removed from the program entirely and go back to Eversource. You would just change your product.
Okay,
So you
so then
can-
you
you
need
have
to
to-
call them.
Yep, that's right. You do have to take action for that basic or the plus option. The standard is what's automatic. But yeah, if you opt out of the program, you'd be back in Eversource basic service.
Okay, and as far as outages are concerned, does this affect the outages? Like, who still takes care of if the electricity goes off?
Still Eversource. So
Okay.
Eversource still does storm outage response. They still maintain the wires and poles. And if you have any issues with your electricity, you'll still call Eversource.
Okay, one more. Does this affect the solar customers?
No. So if you participate in net metering or you get net metering benefits, that is calculated the exact same. So right now you're calculated at their basic service rate for each credit. So that stays the exact same. If you participate and you do net metering, the only thing that will change is when you do pull from the grid, you'll get the program price.
Okay, so the solar customers are not in this?
Solar customers can enroll in this. So their net metering credits are exactly the same. They still get credited at that Eversource rate. It's just when they pull from the grid. Like if they, don't generate as much as they consume, they'll get
If they need more?
Right.
Okay, got
Yep.
it. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, folks. I have a question. There seems to be a solar farm, okay, up off of Commerce Presidential Way. Will that service the Woburn community? All right. I mean, it's just basically they put it up, and it seems like it's been up there for a few years. I don't know where it's supplying energy to. All right. But
Yeah, I'm not sure if that'll lead into the program or if that's a private thing, but we can definitely connect afterwards and I can maybe get like the address you're talking about.
yeah, because I mean, it's been there a couple of years, and
Okay.
I worked close by there, and I could see them putting it up, and it just seemed to be like the eggplant that took over Toledo or something like that. It just kept growing and growing and growing. The train station is behind there. Okay, there are businesses around there. Okay, I was just wondering, does Woburn have any more facilities like that? I'm assuming in other parts of the city they probably do, but I do not know. Does anybody? West side? East side?
Right now, the city has solar on some of our buildings, and we're exploring the possibility of putting solar panels on other buildings, but there's no broad plan to expand solar fields like the one you see over
Who benefits by that solar program?
there. That goes into the grid. I'll have to track down the particulars of that, but that's not one of these project sites that she's describing.
Yeah, this lady's talking about the Anderson train. I
Yeah,
come out of there and I see that.
that's not one of these
I
projects.
oftentimes wonder who's benefiting from that.
Burlington? I don't know. All right.
it goes into the
Yeah,
grid.
it goes into the grid, all right? I was just wondering, who owns that land?
I'm not sure. I have to get you that. answer.
The city does.
I'm not sure.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
the city owns it.
You might have answered this question, but I couldn't hear it in the back there. I know it's automatic if you get the standard, but what do you do if you want to get one of the other two?
Sure. If you want to enroll in the basic or the plus option, there's a couple of different actions you can take. I'll just get that up on the screen here. So you can either go to our website, WoburnCommunityElectricity.com. You can call our program supplier, and that's Dynegy listed there. So those are the two ways to, yep. Those are the two different ways you can choose a different product.
So that is 220, is that what the number is?
It's 866-220-5696. Yep.
Good evening. I don't know the terminology to use, but let me just get going here. The only thing with this energy program is that 5 to 10% savings. That's the only difference between Dynegy and Eversource. Is that correct?
We also add that additional renewable energy. So it's,
Oh, okay,
right, so the basic option is the exact same as Eversource.
right, with
That's the same-
63%
right.
of that already being in,
Yep.
okay. Question, I don't know the mechanics or the infrastructure of supplying and sourcing electricity. So there's the grid. So Eversource pulls out of the grid, and Dynegy pulls out of the same grid. And then it goes on to Eversource's wires and telephone poles. So the only difference then is from the basic plan in Eversource is Dynegy has a lower profit margin than Eversource.
That's right. So there, regardless of which product you choose, the same electricity is always flowing through your wires.
Okay.
It's just what price you locked in at. So you either could get, pay per kilowatt hour for the basic. If you pay for that Woburn standard, that extra 10% is not coming to your door. It's being
Right.
put back on the grid.
Okay. Okay. So if there's ever any, I'm just wondering if from the grid does Eversource, because they're obviously a larger source, would they get a priority to come back on the grid? Say if the grid went down, not the wires. I mean, would they just flick the switch and everybody pulls it out?
I see. That's a good question. So while Dynegy does own their own generation, it's actually all the same pool. By the time it gets to you, it's a mix of everyone. Dynegy gets paid, for their private generation, they get paid some per kilowatt hour to be on the grid, same as Eversource's own generation. But by the time it comes to us, it's not like an on or off for Dynegy or on and off for Eversource. ISO New England, kind of the lawmaker of our grid, the person who's in charge of making sure we're in check with demand, do we have enough on the grid for hot days, things like that. They're the person who's calling people on. And they do have, emergency response like rates. So, you could be paid to, during a heat stroke like this week, they could be paid extra during that time. But no, there's no priority of who's putting electricity on the grid.
Okay, because you just said each group generates their own.
Right, so
So if Dynegy's generation goes down and Eversource's continues, and I'm sure there's other third parties out there, so they all feed into the grid, and then we continue, but at that point we're just using all of everybody else's generated electricity. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry, so Dynegy's generation has nothing to do with this aggregation. I just meant to say, while they do own generation,
Okay.
so we're buying from the same pot, the same pool. There's people who, who just generate and don't have direct contracts with people. So our aggregation is pulling from the ISO New England grid. It has nothing to do with Dynegy specific generation. It's all one big pool. And it's ISO New England controls who puts in electricity, who gets turned off during what times. So they're in control of that, and they're not giving priority to a Dynegy or an Eversource. They're just concerned about the capacity of the load.
Right, because my concern is if I go with Dynegy and my neighbor is with Eversource, would there ever be a situation where I'm out and they're in?
No, never. Your lights will never just turn off because you're on someone else's supply.
Okay.
Never.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone, I have a question. You stated that from now, 25 to 20, I think, 29 of December. So between that time, if you tap out, will you be paying a fee?
No, if you want to leave the program anytime in those 52 months, there's no fee to leave the program.
Within that time frame?
Right, yep, so these rates are only good until 52 months, and then we'll go back out and get new ones. So in these 52 months, you can come and go as much as you please. There's no fee to leave the program or to come back into the program.
And after, by December 29, so there will be another reset.
That's right. So after December 2029, we'll have another bid. The city will choose another supplier, rate, and term, and we'll do the same process here. So we'll send letters, you'll get a chance to participate, and then within that price term, you can come and go as much as you want. There is never any fee to leave.
Perfect, thank you.
What's the percentages on the program option? 63%, what does that represent? 73%?
Yep, so the question was, what does the percentages on this screen mean? So that's how much renewable energy is in each product. So 63% is the base RPS, so that's the Renewable Portfolio Standard. Every electricity generator in the state has to comply with that. So that means, yeah, well, it's a wonderful thing to increase how much renewable energy has to be in our... Well, it's it's a very volatile market. Renewable energy is kind of a piece of that puzzle, but ultimately the basic and the Eversource basic service have the exact same amount of electricity in it. That's the base supply, has to have 63%. That's right.
So 63% is renewable energy in the
Yes,
63% of the energy is from renewable sources.
that's right, 63%. Yeah. Natural gas, coal, fossil fuels. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Just wondering, this is locked in for 52 months. What happens if Eversource, their prices really drop? Is the town able to negotiate during that 52 months? Or we're just stuck with that for the whole 52 months?
Yep, so these 52 months are solid, they're fixed. That's what the price will be for 52 months. If Eversource rates drop to 8 cents a kilowatt hour, anyone in this room could decide to opt out and take advantage of that and come back. Right, there's no minimum amount we need to have in the program, but these prices will be fixed and available to you for 52 months.
Okay, thank you.
Just one further question. Tonight's discussion has been about residential use of electricity. Do businesses in Woburn have a similar plan or option?
Yep, so the question was, is this just for residential customers, or do commercial and industrial customers also have an option? So these prices are for all rate classes. If you are a large commercial or industrial customer, the supplier does have a right to offer you a market rate if you opt in and out of the program, just to manage the risk of a load like that. But these rates are open to all rate classes.
Sorry, I know you answered this, but if you do nothing, you go right into the standard?
That's right. If you're on Eversource Basic Service right now, you'll go into the Woburn Standard if you take no action.
Okay, so if you wanted to do the basic, obviously you would have to. Okay,
Yep.
thank
Yep.
you.
Sure.
For those who are qualified to be part of this program, and I guess most of us are because we're here, how likely will you encourage us to be part of this program, take advantage of it, I meant to say?
Sure. So this is a voluntary program. No one has to participate in this program.
I understand.
Was that your question?
I understand, but I'm trying to figure out that, it's more like, I want to know that, is it like an opportunity that we should not waste time, be part of it?
Oh, I understand.
Because it will save us money?
Yes. Yep. So
That's what
there's no catch. There's no downside to this program. We're here because we believe in this program and we think everyone would benefit from it. If you're someone who likes to shop around for your electricity, every 3 months, this might not be the program for you, but the program is set up to provide stable rates for the full 52 months, so you know exactly what that supply price will be. So we think this is a great benefit to the entire city. yeah, we would recommend.
Okay. And a follow-up question with that. I see sometimes when you are selecting into a program, something like that, I don't know if I can use any example where that the person actually who promoting this promotion, when they get enough customer, so people tend to just leave one side and go to this person. That person become a more like the commodity, but more like say that word. And then it become like what happened that no, so they end up just being the only services out there that you have to go to, and then you find yourself that no, so you can't go back because there is no other person who compete with them, and you lose that competition. When you do lose that competition, you just stuck with that, and at some point in time, that price just keep going up, and you have no way to get out of it. So I was afraid that no, so will this organization or the company actually will provide that service right now for the next 52 months, find themselves in a point where everybody out there losing a lot of customers because they're going to towards this organization or this institution for that matter. And then over time, you end up just feel like you have no option. And I want to know that no, so will the city itself, at some point that will take over, will be the main supplier to the whole Woburn?
Okay, I think I understand your question. And so these rates are what they are, and they will never go up. There's never an extra fee on top of it.
Yeah.
And also, Eversource basic service is always an option to you. That will remain. They're the utility. They're your delivery services. So you'll always have an option to go back to Eversource. So you won't get stuck in this. If you sign up for this program or if you get automatically enrolled, you are not locked in for the 52 months. You can leave at any time. You can decide to opt out right now and then come back in. This is something that the city negotiated with the supplier to be able to come in and out of the program. This is a voluntary program, so you'll never be stuck in a rate.
Okay, so if that's the case, why can't the leaders, the mayor, encourage Eversource actually to be in charge of this services? Because if we're gonna have Eversource give us this service, I mean, to the umbrella, let's put it this way, and then 2029, and then we're gonna go back to a fluctuate rate that we don't know where they're gonna land. And why can't we know also as a community, as a group of community, and our leaders put together say that, so why can't we just encourage Eversource actually to just handle this thing from get-go?
Right.
At that point on, we'd have to feel like, okay, I got this good grade. The reason I'm saying this one is because I'm looking at my rent. It goes up, it goes down. During COVID, it goes down, and it kind of like locked into a price because of whatever that was going on during COVID time. And then I noticed that when COVID was kind of like just gone away, so the rent double first, and then it fluctuates back based on the market price. So what happens is like, I felt like the landlord catch up, like whatever that they could not charge you for that locked in, they end up just add it on, and then after that they go back to what the market say. So I'm thinking that if we're gonna get into this thing, so we're gonna benefit from it for the next 52 months, and after that, what if the organization himself say that, no, so I give you that bonus point, but I need to charge you for it
Right.
after the 52 because it wasn't really given back to you. It was just out there because to just get you into the program. But now you're in,
Right.
now we want to just get this back from you without you notice that, no, so this is what they want you to do.
I understand. Good question. Good questions. So the contract that we have, that's 52 months, was negotiated by the city. So this is a city-run program. Okay, so we're Good Energy. We're the consultant. We help develop and we operate the program. But this is the city's program. And ultimately, after 52 months, if they decide they don't want to have the program, they don't have to. But there will never be like a variable rate option for aggregation. What aggregation is going out into the market with the buying power of an entire city. And that's how they're able to secure such great, stable, competitive rates, is because it's an attractive load. It's a city of people, mostly residential, that they kind of know what the load's going to be. Eversource has to shop for an entire, section of the state. It has industrial load, commercial load, residential. And so there's not a lot of security and safety built into that rate. So because we have the whole buying power, if you go out to a third-party supplier today, you might be able to get, like you said, an introductory rate that maybe in the future goes up or comes back down. That's not how aggregation works, and the city would never sign a contract for a variable rate. Sorry? Right. Right, exactly. Right, and for the city would never lock in, like they can walk away from a bid. They don't have to say yes to any of these prices. Yeah, the city can terminate the program if it'd like to. No, the city does not get compensated for this program.
So this is beginning to go on right now, and we're going to see what happens in the next 52 months. If say 80% of the Woburn residents do this or whatever, and 20 don't or whatever, if there were a lot of people in the town doing this, would it change the rate, do you think, after? It's hard to say in 5 years what's going to happen, but if most of the town, because it said they opted some of this in Burlington and other towns, and they found that because more people have opted in, their rates stay lower on the next contract, let's say.
Good question. So the question was, does the participation rate change the program pricing that you can get from suppliers? No, we could have one person participate or the whole town, and those rates will remain honored. The suppliers bake in an average, maybe 70% of participation rate. We often find that it's much higher than that, but that can fluctuate as much as they want, and they would honor those prices.
I was just referring to the next contract.
Sure, right.
I might have missed this because I came in a little late. So the current rate now through August is lower than the rates that are up there. And I use most of my electricity with my AC in the summer. So if I wanted to take this now through February of next year and then jump back on the Eversource rate, can I just opt out and just keep going back and forth without a fee?
Yep, that's right. You can opt in and out of the program, no penalty or fee.
Okay.
I believe we're getting power from Canada, and I'm assuming some of that comes through Eversource. What happens with these tariffs if they go up or down? Could they increase or decrease what comes through Eversource?
Sure. So currently, right now, actually, energy is one of the few things that is exempt from the tariffs. But that would be within the hands of ISO New England. That's who kind of controls our grid. So it wouldn't be just Eversource specific. And there absolutely may be, we do import some electricity off of the Eastern Canadian grid into the ISO New England grid. But yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit more afterward.
I have 3 questions that are totally unrelated to each other. The first, why 52 months? Why not 48, 54, 60? Why 52?
Sure. So the first question is why 52 months? So when we go out to bid, we ask our suppliers to bring all different combinations of prices and term lengths. And it also matters when the program ends. So ending a program in December is pretty great for us because it means we'll go out to bid, at a certain time of the year. So 52 months was just the most attractive in terms of the combinations of price and term length.
Second question, how do you let new residents know about this program?
Sure. So the question was, how do we let new residents know about this program? So once a quarter, about every 3 months, we send what's called a sweeps mailer. It's essentially the same opt-out notification that you all got. It's a letter, explains the program, has the opt-out card. So we send that 4 times a year to anyone who's come off of third-party supply and is now with Eversource Basic Service, or anyone who's recently moved in and set up a new Eversource Basic Service account.
My third question, what happens if, it's a Dynegy, what happens if they go bankrupt?
Sure. So the question is, what happens if Dynegy goes bankrupt? So thankfully, that's never happened to any of our qualified suppliers. So when we execute these bids, we are only looking at suppliers who have a track record of 5-10 years of serving large capacity loads. In the event that Dynegy went bankrupt, your lights would not turn off. Like I was explaining a bit before, you're connected to this ISO New England grid. The electricity, the electrons that flow to your home have nothing to do with who's supplying the actual electricity.
I'm thinking more along the lines of the cost of producing energy goes up to the point that Dynegy can't continue to deliver this. What happens?
Sure. So the question was, what happens if Dynegy can't afford to continue to deliver this? We would never have partnered with the supplier we don't feel is qualified to honor these rates. We've actually watched it happen, when we watched what happened in the gas market and the electricity market in the past 3 years. We saw Eversource rates were up at 25 cents and also as low as 9 cents. And even in that volatility, they've been able to maintain those, honor the rates that they offered.
That's great, but that doesn't answer the question of what happens if Dynegy can't deliver.
Sure. So,
Contract guarantee, something like that.
That's what
Right.
I'm trying to find out. Is there some guarantee built in for the city that for people to do this if Dynegy can't deliver?
yeah, it is a great question. I totally hear you. In the contract that the city has with the supplier, they can terminate at any point if they'd like to. If they want to terminate and say this is not worth it for us, then they can.
But that's not my question. My question
I don't know if I can answer your question. Yes, you could go back to Eversource Basic Service.
But the city would then lose, anybody on this program would lose the program. That's what I'm getting at.
We would have the option of losing the program. Yes, if Dynegy somehow, in the unlikely event, cannot serve, that is one option. The other option, we can go out to bid again and go through another effort to see more stable suppliers. And certainly our partners watching, and if there was any imminent threat of that happening, we would be aware. But in a worst case scenario, we would all go back to ours, or we would rebid the project.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for, what kind of
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah.
Google Dynegy was acquired by Vista and the stock is going up this year. So we might get acquired again.
I got a question. Why would I want to do this when I'm paying cheaper with Eversource right now? It's cheaper than what you're proposed up there.
Yep. So the question was, Eversource is cheaper right now. Why would we opt into this program? So everything that's listed here are the rates that start in August. So Eversource changes every August and February. So the rate that's on the screen here is what you will pay for Eversource Basic Service starting in August. So their rate is 14. Yep, it's right here. It's 14.884 starting in August.
I know if you don't opt out, you'll be in the reinstated as of August 1st. For people that want to take part in this program, is it possible to start off with the middle program?
Yes. Yep. If you want to start off with a different product, you just have to make that selection by July 16th. And I'll just put these back up here on the slide. Oh. You can go to our program website to fill out an enroll form to select either of those different products, or you can call Dynegy directly. But if you want to start with that, July 16th.
Back again, I'm sorry. My question, I don't think is directed towards you, but the city of Woburn, this is a city-run program? Okay, so will there be a new electricity department?
No.
So who, if I have a question, do I call city, do I call Dynegy?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so all Woburn did basically was just work to gather this, hire the consultant, figure out who's best, and then at that point, we're out, you know, as far as being represented. Okay, cool, thank you.
Have the towns that are on the program already, have they ever seen a decrease in service from Eversource? You know, if we have an outage or something, they get lost on the list, that type of thing. Have there been complaints about that?
Sure. So regardless of who your supplier is, Eversource is always responsible for your wires and poles. So they don't care who your supplier is. Also, you and your neighbor could have different suppliers, and they would manage and operate the lines and poles just the exact same way. So storm outage response is just as reliable now with their basic service supply. Yes. Yep. Just to point out there, can you point out the error? Yes. So there's it should say Woburn Community Electricity, but that number underneath it is actually correct. So it's 781-236-4531. That's Good Energy phone number. So you'll get me, my colleague Courtney, or Rachel, and you'll speak with us. Yes.
How did you decide on Dynegy as the supplier, not just a competitive bid? You will get customer complaints, satisfaction, response, things like that, because on Google, it's not good.
Yep. So we do hear a lot that some of the competitive suppliers that we work with, people have bad experiences with them for the most part. So all of the suppliers we work with also offer direct to consumer contracts. So you yourself could go out to Dynegy and say, I want my own price. These are pretty, these competitive contracts are not great typically for consumers. The AG's office is filed legislation actually to try to stop these competitive contracts. This is where we see a lot of that bad press, whether it's introductory rates or poor service or things like that. But yes, that was a part of our qualified bid, is to make sure that all of our suppliers that we were looking at could provide the same service.
You're based in Texas.
Yep.
And primarily Ohio and Pennsylvania. And that's part of the disconnect. We're seeing power companies being bought up by third parties, and the service goes downhill fast. So your main focus is Texas, Ohio, and Pennsylvania.
Well, a great part of this program is that you have a consultant who also operates and manages, so you can also just call us, and we're happy to help solve things for you or make changes to your account.
If you walked out from sign up for this program, and you decide you want to have Eversource for your supply.
Yeah.
How long a process is that? Is that a matter of 5 to 10 minutes on the computer, or does that take?
Oh yeah, so it's if you go onto our website, it's the click of a button. In terms of actually taking effect, it happens on your meter read. So you have one meter read per month. If you submit it right after your September meter read, it'll take effect on your October meter read. And something I shared early on is that when anything happens on your meter read, you see it on the next bill. So let's say you opt out in September, it'll take effect in October, and you'll actually see it on that bill in October and November whenever you receive that. Right, it happens once a month on a meter read. You can make any change, whether that's opting out, changing your product, all of it happens on the meter read. Oh, any change. You don't have to have a smart meter for that. I'm not sure if Woburn has smart readers yet. That's right. If you opt out initially before the program begins, you can rejoin again at any time. That's right. Yep, that's right.
The general question is, if we weren't using renewables, if we were just using
That is a good question.
Basically double in the last 2 years.
Right.
So we're just using oil, and more natural gas. What would it cost? What would it cost?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can answer that. Yeah, sorry. We're on the electricity side. We're trying to electrify.
Well, this is to generate electricity, right? I mean, you use gas and natural
Right.
gas is coal.
So those that are on the broadcast, I know can't hear you, and I know it's a little bit of a hassle, but it's really frustrating for them. So just to recap, the question was, if we were not using renewable energy in the state of Massachusetts, what would our cost be? We really have no way to do that. This is market driven, and because Massachusetts doesn't allow that, it would be pure speculation. I think is what the answer was. I know that I use natural gas for heat in my house. That has not stayed low. Let me just say that. So the market determines those things. It would be a total guess.
Well, that's a distribution. If you look at your distribution adjustment on the national grid bill, that's almost 30% of the bill, which is used for
Yeah.
environmental programs. That's almost
Your guess, we would all be guessing. We have no way, it's market driven. We have no way to do it.
that's right around 30%.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be more, could be less. We don't. It is an unknown, and the state doesn't allow it, so it's not something we can choose.
We show the rate projected for August. That's a projection, correct? It's not a hard rate yet.
For Eversource Basic Service, the rate that's shown here is the finalized rate.
Because we talked to Eversource today, and they said they have no final rate. It's still a DPU.
Yep, so Eversource has Eversource West, they have Eversource East. The Eversource East rate that's on the screen here is the finalized rate.
We talked to East today, and
We can totally talk afterwards. Yeah, we can talk afterwards.
The question for those on the broadcast is that Eversource rate firm? Eversource has announced that. Somebody on the phone may be telling you otherwise, and you guys can talk and figure out where that information is, but pretty reliably they've confirmed that is the rate. Now, Eversource could, in January, change their rates, and we do have, you all have been kind enough to show us the last 3 years of Eversource rates just as a point of comparison, and we can share that with anybody who's interested in that. Any other questions? We can stay around and sort of mingle a little bit if anybody has anything else lingering, but if there's not anything else from the group. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Good Energy, for being here.